The idea of a chosen one has existed in how all their contradictions fit together. For these chosen ones, chaos is not an obstacle on the path, it is the path itself. While others begin their spiritual journeys through belief, tradition, or guidance, these individuals are thrown directly into disorder. Their lives often feel unstable from an early age, marked by emotional intensity, sudden changes, or environments that lack safety and understanding. This early chaos is not meant to break them, even though it often feels that way. It is meant to awaken a deeper level of awareness that cannot be accessed through comfort or certainty. Instead of receiving answers, they are given questions. Instead of being shown a clear direction, they are forced to navigate uncertainty alone. This creates a deep sense of abandonment, not only by people, but sometimes by life itself. Many go through periods of questioning existence, meaning, and even their own value. They may feel disconnected from spirituality altogether, unable to trust religious structures or traditional explanations. Ironically, this distance from belief systems is what prepares them for a more authentic understanding later. One of the most painful aspects of this phase is isolation. Because they cannot fully relate to others and others cannot fully understand them, these chosen ones often feel unseen. Even in relationships, they may feel emotionally alone. People may sense their depth but feel overwhelmed by it. As a result, these individuals learn early how to rely on themselves even when they desperately want support. This forced independence strengthens their inner core, though at the cost of emotional exhaustion. During this stage, many develop inner contradictions. They may crave meaning but resist belief, seek connection but avoid vulnerability, desire purpose but fear commitment. These contradictions can feel like personal failures, but they are actually signs of a mind and soul that refuse simple answers. Their consciousness is being trained to hold opposing forces without collapsing. This ability will later become one of their greatest strengths. Chaos also teaches them empathy in a way nothing else can. By experiencing confusion, loss, and emotional pain firsthand, they develop a natural understanding of human suffering. They do not judge easily because they know how complex inner battles can be. This compassion is not learned from books or teachings. It is earned through lived experience. It allows them to connect with others on a deeper level, even when words fail. Most importantly, this phase begins the slow dismantling of false identities. Everything that is not aligned with their deeper truth starts to fall away. Beliefs, roles, attachments, and expectations placed on them by others. Although this dismantling feels destructive, it is actually clearing space. Before they can understand who they truly are, they must first see who they are not. Chaos becomes the fire that burns away illusion, leaving behind the raw material of awareness. As the chaos continues, many of these chosen ones begin to experience a deep internal division. It feels as though two opposing selves exist within them at the same time. One part longs for meaning, truth, and higher understanding, while the other part feels heavy, tired, and deeply entangled in human struggles. This inner split is not imaginary. It is the result of carrying both heightened awareness and unresolved pain simultaneously. Instead of canceling each other out, these forces clash, creating an ongoing inner war. This inner conflict often leads to cycles of self-sabotage. Just when progress begins, emotional healing, personal success, or spiritual insight, an opposing force seems to pull them back. They may make decisions they do not fully understand, destroy opportunities they worked hard to create, or retreat from growth out of fear. From the outside, this behavior appears irrational. From the inside, it feels like being torn between two realities that cannot yet coexist. Because of this split, they may struggle with consistency. Their energy, beliefs, and direction can shift dramatically over time. One phase they feel deeply connected, inspired, and clear. The next they feel disconnected, numb, or lost. This fluctuation can lead to shame and frustration. They may compare themselves to others who seem stable and certain, and conclude that something is wrong with them. In truth, this instability is a side effect of a deeper integration process that has not yet completed. Another consequence of this inner war is difficulty trusting oneself. When inner voices contradict each other, decision-making becomes exhausting. They may overthink, doubt their intuition, or constantly seek external validation. Yet even when advice is given, it rarely satisfies them. Their soul does not respond to borrowed answers. It requires direct understanding, earned through experience rather than instruction. This phase also brings heightened sensitivity. Emotions are felt intensely, and subtle energies in people and environments are easily perceived. While this sensitivity can be overwhelming, it also sharpens perception. They begin to see patterns others ignore, in relationships, systems, and human behavior. They sense dishonesty, imbalance, and hidden motives instinctively. This awareness can be isolating, but it is also a sign that their perception is expanding beyond surface reality. The purpose of this inner war is not to choose one side and destroy the other. It is to learn how to hold both without suppression. Over time, these chosen ones begin to realize that neither part of them is the enemy. The tired, broken side carries wisdom about suffering and humanity. The aware, seeking side carries vision and possibility. When these parts are finally allowed to communicate rather than compete, integration begins. This is a slow and painful process. It requires self-honesty, patience, and the courage to face inner contradictions without judgment. Many give up at this stage, choosing numbness or distraction instead. But those who continue develop a rare inner strength. They learn to remain conscious even in emotional storms. This ability becomes the foundation for their later role, guiding others through chaos not as teachers above them, but as survivors who truly understand. As the inner conflict deepens, isolation often becomes a defining experience for these chosen ones. This isolation is not always physical. Many are surrounded by people yet still. After long periods of inner conflict, stage where inner stability forms, emotional fluctuations lessen, not because life becomes easier, but because awareness becomes stronger. They learn to observe emotions without being consumed by them. Triggers still arise, but they no longer control behavior. This emotional regulation is not suppression. It is mastery through understanding. It allows them to remain grounded in situations that once overwhelmed them. Purpose for these chosen ones is not loud, not dramatic, but deeply transformative. As the dual chosen one moves deeper into alignment, a critical realization emerges. Their purpose is not an identity to wear, but a frequency to live. They stop asking, "Who am I supposed to be?" and begin sensing, "What energy am I here to embody?" This shift changes everything. Life no longer feels like a constant search for definition. Instead, it becomes an expression of presence. They begin to notice that their impact does not come from effort or performance. It comes from authenticity. When they speak honestly, when they allow themselves to be seen without masks, something shifts in the space around them. People open up, tension dissolves. Conversations deepen without force. This is because frequency communicates faster than words. Their nervous system, once overwhelmed, now acts as a tuning instrument, calibrating environments simply through coherence. At this stage, external validation loses its grip. Traditional success markers, status, recognition, approval, no longer feel fulfilling, not because they are rejected, but because they are insufficient. The dual chosen one senses that their value cannot be measured by productivity or comparison. Their worth is intrinsic. This realization frees enormous energy that was once spent trying to be acceptable or impressive. However, living as a frequency requires radical honesty. Any form of self-betrayal becomes immediately uncomfortable. When they stay in relationships, jobs, or situations that contradict their inner truth, their body reacts. Fatigue, anxiety, or emotional numbness appear as signals. These symptoms are not weakness, they are guidance. Their system is designed to reject misalignment quickly, so they can return to coherence. This phase often brings simplification. Life becomes quieter, more intentional. Fewer distractions, fewer roles, fewer explanations. They may feel called to solitude more often, not to escape the world, but to maintain clarity. Silence becomes restorative. Nature becomes essential. Creativity flows not as ambition, but as expression. Even rest becomes sacred. Importantly, they stop trying to wake others up. They understand that awakening cannot be forced. Instead, they focus on staying awake themselves. Ironically, this is when their influence becomes strongest. By refusing to preach or convince, they create space. By living truthfully, they invite reflection. Their life becomes a mirror rather than a message. There is also a deepening trust in timing. Urgency fades. They no longer feel behind or late. They recognize that their journey unfolds according to inner readiness, not external schedules. This patience allows their actions to be precise rather than reactive. When they speak, it lands. When they move, it matters. When they rest, it restores. Living as a frequency also means embracing impermanence. They understand that states of clarity and confusion may still alternate, but neither defines them completely. They are no longer afraid of regression because they know integration is not linear. Every return to stillness reinforces resilience. Every challenge refines perception. At this stage, the dual chosen one becomes quietly sovereign. Not isolated, not superior, simply rooted. They belong to themselves. And from that grounded place, they contribute naturally to the collective, not by trying to change the world, but by being in right relationship with it. At the final stage of remembrance, the dual chosen one stops searching for confirmation. There is nothing left to prove, nothing left to chase. What remains is embodiment. They no longer ask whether they belong, because they understand that their role was never to fit into the world as it is, but to stand as a bridge between what exists and what is emerging. This realization settles deeply, not as pride but as peace. They begin to live with a quiet authority that does not demand attention. Their presence alone carries weight. People may not understand them fully, but they feel something in their presence, in a sense of grounding, truth, or clarity. This is because the dual chosen one no longer resists their contradictions. They have learned to hold strength and vulnerability, certainty and mystery, action and stillness in the same breath. This wholeness is rare and it is transformative. At this point, the old fear of being misunderstood loses power. The need to explain fades. They understand that not everyone is meant to walk with them, and that is not a failure. Some connections are temporary, some karmic, some catalytic. Releasing them no longer feels like loss, it feels like alignment. Space opens for relationships that resonate without effort, without masks, without confusion. The dual chosen one also accepts solitude as sacred. They no longer interpret aloneness as abandonment. Instead, it becomes a place of renewal. In stillness, they hear their inner guidance clearly. In silence, they remember who they are beyond noise and expectation. This inner relationship becomes their anchor in a world that constantly demands fragmentation. Most importantly, they stop apologizing for their depth. They no longer dilute their truth to make others comfortable. This does not make them harsh or disconnected. It makes them honest. And honesty, when grounded in compassion, becomes a powerful form of love. They learn that being true is not the same as being unkind, and that boundaries are not walls but forms of respect. As they walk forward, their life becomes a living transmission. They do not need to teach, preach, or lead formally. Their way of being speaks louder than instruction. By embodying integration, they show others what is possible. That it is possible to feel deeply without drowning, to face darkness without becoming it, and to carry light without denying pain. The greatest gift they offer the world is permission. Permission to be complex, permission to be unfinished, permission to be real. In a culture that rewards performance and certainty, their authenticity becomes revolutionary. They remind others, not through words but through presence, that wholeness is not about perfection but about inclusion. This is the true path of the dual chosen one. Not ascension away from humanity but deeper embodiment within it. Not escape from the world, but transformation through being fully alive inside it. They are not here to dominate timelines or save souls. They are here to stabilize frequency, to hold a living example of what integration looks like in human form. And so the journey does not end. It stabilizes. The seeking dissolves into being. The question fades into knowing. The dual chosen one continues forward, not as a concept, not as a label, but as a presence. A bridge, a living reminder that the space between worlds is not empty. It is alive and it lives through them. After embodiment stabilizes, life does not suddenly become effortless, but it becomes honest. The dual chosen one now walks the world with open eyes, no longer searching for escape, rescue, or validation. They understand that awakening was never meant to remove them from human struggle, but to change how they move through it. Pain may still arise, but it no longer defines identity. Confusion may appear, but it no longer erases direction. At this stage, they learn how to participate in the world without being consumed by it. They can engage with systems, relationships, and responsibilities while remaining internally sovereign. This is a rare skill. Most people either lose themselves in the world or reject it entirely. The dual chosen one learns to stand in the middle, present, aware, and unowned. They also begin to sense when to act and when to withdraw, not from fear, but from wisdom. Their intuition becomes refined through experience, not fantasy. They recognize that not every battle is theirs to fight, and not every silence is weakness. Discernment replaces impulse. Energy is spent deliberately, not emotionally. One of the most difficult lessons here is accepting limitations. Not everyone can meet them where they stand. Not everyone can see what they see. This realization can bring grief, especially in close relationships. But they learn that love does not require sameness. Sometimes love means allowing others to remain asleep while staying awake oneself. This is not superiority. It is respect for free will. They also stop waiting for recognition. The fantasy of being seen one day dissolves. They understand that visibility is not the same as impact. Many of the most powerful shifts happen invisibly, in conversations, in moments of presence, in energetic exchanges that never make noise. This humility protects their integrity. It keeps their mission clean. As they move forward, creativity often becomes a natural outlet. Writing, speaking, building, mentoring, or simply living differently. These are expressions of their frequency. They no longer create to prove worth, but to translate inner truth into form. What they create carries depth because it is lived, not imagined. Importantly, they learn to care for the body. Grounding becomes essential. Sleep, nourishment, movement, and boundaries are no longer optional. The body is not an obstacle to spirituality. It is the instrument. Without regulation, the frequency cannot stabilize. This is where many spiritual seekers fail. But dual chosen ones learn through necessity. There is also a quiet joy that emerges. Not excitement, not constant happiness, but a steady sense of rightness. Even in difficulty, there is meaning. Even in uncertainty, there is trust. They no longer need life to look a certain way to feel aligned. Alignment becomes internal, portable, and resilient. Walking the world after awakening is not about perfection. It is about presence. The dual chosen one does not transcend humanity. They inhabit it fully, consciously, and responsibly. And in doing so, they become exactly what they were always meant to be. Not an answer, not a savior, but a living example of integration in motion. As awareness deepens, the dual chosen one begins to understand a subtle but serious truth. Consciousness carries responsibility. Seeing clearly means acting carefully. Once illusions fall away, there is no return to unconscious living. This is not a burden, but it is a weight. The weight of choice made with awareness. Every decision now matters more, not because it affects everything, but because it is made from truth rather than avoidance. At this stage, leadership emerges naturally, even when it is not desired. People look to the dual chosen one not because of titles or authority, but because of consistency. Their calm during chaos, their clarity during confusion, and their refusal to collapse under pressure become stabilizing forces. This is silent leadership. It does not seek followers, but it creates coherence. However, this role must be handled with humility. The dual chosen one learns quickly that influence without ego is essential. When ego enters, distortion follows. When fear enters, control follows, so they practice restraint. They speak when necessary, remain silent when wisdom requires it, and always check their intention before acting. Their inner alignment becomes the compass. There is also a deepening respect for boundaries, both their own and others. They no longer attempt to rescue or fix people. They understand that interference can delay growth. Instead, they offer presence. They listen without absorbing. They support without entangling. This balance protects both themselves and those around them. With this responsibility comes fatigue at times. Awareness can be lonely, seeing patterns others ignore, recognizing cycles before they repeat, and feeling the undercurrents of collective emotion can be exhausting. This is why self-regulation becomes non-negotiable. Rest is not indulgence, it is maintenance. Without it, clarity dulls and sensitivity turns into overwhelm. The dual chosen one also learns to accept misunderstanding as part of the path. Not everyone will interpret their restraint as wisdom. Some will call it distance. Some will project coldness where there is discernment. Learning not to correct every misunderstanding is part of maturity. Truth does not require constant defense. At this point, integrity becomes the highest value. They would rather lose opportunity than lose alignment. They would rather walk alone than betray their inner knowing. This does not come from rigidity, but from self-trust earned through experience. They have seen what happens when they ignore intuition, and they choose not to repeat it. Over time, their life becomes quieter but more impactful. Fewer words, more weight. Fewer actions, more consequence. They stop scattering energy and start concentrating it. This focus allows them to build, nurture, and sustain what truly matters. The responsibility of awareness is not about being better than others. It is about being honest with oneself. The dual chosen one understands that their role is not to carry the world, but to stand firmly within it without collapsing. That steadiness alone becomes a gift, one that subtly reshapes the environments they move through without force, without noise, and without demand. At this stage of the journey, the dual chosen one begins to perceive life not as a series of isolated moments, but as a long arc of becoming. Urgency dissolves, the pressure to arrive fades. They understand that their evolution is not a destination, but a continuous unfolding. This shift brings a deep grounded patience, not passive waiting but steady trust in process. They stop measuring progress by external outcomes. Success is no longer defined by speed, visibility, or recognition. Instead, progress is felt internally. Increased clarity, deeper self-respect, and a growing sense of coherence between thought, emotion, and action. Even when life appears unchanged on the surface, they know something fundamental is stabilizing beneath it. This trust allows them to move more slowly and more accurately. They take fewer impulsive risks but make more intentional commitments. When they say yes, it is whole. When they say no, it is clean. This precision conserves energy and reduces regret. It also builds self-trust, which becomes one of their most valuable resources. The dual chosen one also begins to see setbacks differently. Challenges are no longer interpreted as signs of failure or misalignment. Instead, they are seen as recalibrations, moments where reality tests integration. Old patterns may resurface briefly, not to punish but to confirm that they no longer dominate. Each challenge becomes a quiet exam, and each response reinforces maturity. There is also an increasing comfort with uncertainty. They no longer need every answer before moving forward. Ambiguity becomes tolerable, even fertile. They learn to hold open questions without anxiety, trusting that clarity will arrive when readiness meets timing. This openness allows creativity and insight to emerge organically, rather than being forced. Relationships during this phase become simpler but deeper. Fewer people, more resonance. Conversations move beyond surface narratives into truth, values, and lived experience. There is less performance, more presence. They attract individuals who recognize depth without explanation, people who feel familiar rather than impressive. Importantly, they stop romanticizing struggle. While they respect what hardship taught them, they no longer seek intensity to feel alive. Peace becomes desirable. Stability becomes sacred. This does not mean life loses meaning. It means meaning no longer requires suffering. They allow themselves to enjoy moments of ease without guilt, understanding that rest is not abandonment of purpose but support of it. As trust in the long arc deepens, fear of the future loosens its grip. They no longer feel the need to control outcomes or predict every turn. They know they can respond to whatever arises. This confidence is quiet but unshakable. It comes from having survived uncertainty before and emerged integrated rather than fragmented. Ultimately, this phase is about surrender without collapse. The dual chosen one learns to let life move them without losing themselves. They become flexible without becoming formless, rooted without becoming rigid. In trusting the long arc of becoming, they finally rest inside their own evolution, aware that who they are becoming is not separate from who they already are. At this point in the journey, something subtle but powerful takes root: mastery. Not the kind that seeks recognition, dominance, or control, but the quiet mastery of self and energy. The dual chosen one begins to understand that true power is not dramatic. It is consistent. It is the ability to remain present in moments that once triggered collapse, to respond instead of react, to choose awareness over impulse. They start to notice how their inner state shapes their outer reality with increasing precision. When they are grounded, life reflects stability. When they are scattered, circumstances mirror that fragmentation. This feedback loop is no longer frightening, it is instructive. They learn to regulate their internal world not through suppression, but through relationship. Emotions are listened to, not fought. Thoughts are observed, not obeyed. The nervous system becomes an ally rather than an enemy. This mastery also extends to energy boundaries. The dual chosen one becomes highly selective about where they invest attention. They recognize that attention is currency. Where it goes, energy follows. Where energy flows, reality forms. As a result, they withdraw from meaningless conflict, draining dynamics and conversations rooted in fear or ego. This is not avoidance, it is conservation. They also become more intentional with language. Words are no longer used to fill silence or seek validation. Speech becomes precise. Silence becomes meaningful. They understand that not every truth needs to be spoken, and not every emotion needs to be expressed outwardly. Discernment guides expression. This refinement gives their words weight when they do speak. A deep self-respect develops here. They stop negotiating with their own limits. If something costs too much internally, they walk away, even if it looks good externally. This is one of the hardest lessons to learn, because it often requires letting go of opportunity, familiarity, or approval. But every time they honor themselves, alignment strengthens. Integrity becomes embodied, not conceptual. There is also a new relationship with time. The dual chosen one stops rushing healing, growth, or creation. They understand that depth cannot be hurried. They allow ideas to gestate, emotions to settle, and decisions to mature. This patience results in outcomes that are more stable, more resonant, and more sustainable. Importantly, this phase does not eliminate vulnerability. Pain can still be felt, loss can still hurt, but vulnerability is no longer destabilizing. It moves through without shattering the self. This resilience is not hardness, it is elasticity. They bend without breaking, they feel without drowning. As mastery deepens, humility increases. They recognize how much there still is to learn. Certainty softens into curiosity. Judgment dissolves into understanding. They no longer need to be right, they need to be real. This openness keeps the soul flexible and alive. The quiet mastery of self and energy is not visible to most people, but it is foundational. It is what allows the dual chosen one to remain integrated over time, not just during moments of clarity. It is the difference between awakening once and living awake. And in this mastery, they become not perfect but reliable, a steady presence in an unstable world, anchored not by control, but by conscious relationship with their own inner landscape.